lovely sunny Friday afternoon. I know that some of you will be kind of have mixed feelings about today, and I totally get that. We're going to cover all of that. Just as kind of housekeeping, we're going to be filming this. The purpose of filming it is to give it, you'll not be on camera, don't worry, but it's really about communication. And anyone who's missed this assembly will be able to pick this up. And we're also going to send it to your parents, okay, so that they can get it and hear. So we're just kind of joined up in the message. Switch off, pouch up, switch on to learning. The key word in all of that is learning. That is what we're about. We're a school and we really value your learning. And I'm going to cover that in a bit more detail. I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes, then you're going to get your pouches. You'll have a wee shot to unlock and unlock them on the way out. But by the end of this, when you come back next Wednesday, this is an action, okay? So, listen up, and at the end, if there's any questions, I'll be here, and you can come and give me, we can have a conversation. All right. So, that is the reason we are doing this. And the key question I've been asked since we started this is, why is the school doing this? Why are we doing this? It is absolutely out of care and care for you, okay? And I genuinely think you get that. And what my experience in all the conversations I've been having over the months we've been having them is the further I get up to the school, like, people absolutely get it. I think there's a couple of things there. I think there's a thing about maturity, but also I think there's something about more ingrained habits. And I know as a phone user how difficult that can be to kind of keep that in check. And I know you know that as well. So this is about care. Here are some of the main reasons. Well-being. We all know, because research tells us, but you know because you feel it, that our use of phones, and it is social media, not really the phones, we know that that impacts how we feel about ourselves. We know that. And that is a problem. I'm going to talk in a wee minute about sleep as well and how that impacts our well-being and is hindered by phones. Safeguarding. You also know that there are lots of instances where things get filmed and they shouldn't have been filmed. There are lots of things that get shown that shouldn't have been shown. There are lots of horrible comments that people would never say to someone to their face, but somehow manage to do it online through social media. And I'm not putting that at teenagers' door, because that absolutely happens in the adult world. We model that badly all the time. Okay, so that is not you. This is a problem for us all to work through. Social connections, I don't think it's a massive problem at Portobello High School. When I walk around at break, when I walk around out to the pitches at lunch, you see me there, I see folk interacting, communicating, playing. It's great. I don't think it's a huge problem for us. But we do want to encourage interactions, meaningful social interactions, and not folk being on phones. And positive relationships. I can promise you the last thing your teachers ever want is to have conflict with you. But sometimes there are situations that create that conflict, and the phones are absolutely a part of that. We have to nag about the phones, put your phone away, and no one wants to be a nag. And no one wants to be nagged. And so actually we're trying to create a situation where we minimise that communication, which we don't see as being positive. It doesn't help you, it doesn't help us, it does no one any good. We want to work with you. And actually, we see this as actually eradicating some of the problems around positive relationships. But the biggest reason we are doing this, the main reason we are doing this, I'm going to come back to it, is about your learning. Your teachers care deeply about your learning. We know, the reason we came into this is we are absolutely convinced, beyond doubt, that education, your learning, is one of the things that is going to ensure a good life for you. Education is an amazing thing. It can take you amazing places. And we don't want anyone missing out on that. We don't want you missing huge chunks of your education because of something we didn't do, something we should have done. And that is why we're doing it. We're the first school in Scotland to do this. We are not going to be the last. There's going to be a number in Edinburgh doing this straight on the back. There'll be a number after that. There'll be a lot of publicity around this. And I'll tell you why. Because every school is struggling with the same problem. And every teacher sees our young people with the same difficulty around this. And we hear again and again from our young people that the phones are a problem. Just look at that problem. 237 notifications. That is the UK average for a teenager from kind of 13 to 18 notifications a day. And I took that, I mean, that's from research, probably about a year old. It's probably more than that now. Why? Because the apps that you use are invested in getting your attention because they get lots of money. You are consumers. I am a consumer. If I use TikTok, if I use Instagram, I am a consumer. And everyone's making money off of my interest on what they're showing. That's why you get the notifications. That's why the apps are getting more and more sophisticated to get your attention. But I'm thinking about when I was at school, I didn't have a phone. No one had a phone, mobile phone. But I equate that to 270 times, or 237 times a day, someone tapping me in the shoulder from behind going, hey, look, hey, hey. How could I possibly get on with my education? But you've got that challenge. And it's a problem for you. The hours, average UK, over 8 hours a day. Now we did our own surveys, we've been doing them. We reckon we're more like 6. We kind of bracketed it actually, but we think it was about 6 hours from the people that were studied or sampled in that. We're going to monitor that. We want that to come down. But most of you have heard me make this point before. But I'm going to make it a point again because I do think it's impactful. 6 hours a day. You are young, you're healthy, you're of a generation where the anticipation is that you'll all live into your 80s. Okay? We hope that's the case. We want that to be the case and beyond. So if we take that as a point, and we go, right, so from joining school in S1, most people got their phone at that point, if not before, all the way through to their 80s, 6 hours a day, you keep that habit, because we're 6 hours a day. What does that mean? Well, here's what it means in days. 6,300 days of your life on a phone. I find that quite hard to conceptualise. I find that hard to kind of quantify. What does that look like? Well, that's what it looks like. It looks like over 17 years of your life without going to the toilet, sleeping, eating. Just 17 years of your life like that. Think of what you could achieve if you were not spending 17 years of your life on a phone. And the thing I come back to every time, and you've heard me probably say this before, is when you get to your 80s, and hopefully you all will get there, or beyond, you're not going to think back in your life and think, if only I'd spent more time on TikTok. I've got a friend who's a physio, and I was playing football and I said, what's the biggest injury you're dealing with? Neck injuries from phones. Neck injuries from phones is the biggest injury that physios are trying to support. It's incredible. And we've got to do something. The research supports us, we know it will reduce distractions, but the crucial point at the end there is that the Scottish Government came out really strongly and said, we are supporting schools to ban phones. Now at that point, that really got us thinking. And what I would say on that is that we're not banning phones. We get that you want a phone to come to school. We get that some of you travel across from the other side of Edinburgh. We totally get that. We're not banning phones. We are saying if you bring a phone, it needs to be off when you're in school, and it needs to be in your locked pouch, and that pouch needs to be in your school bag. Now for some of you that's going to be a challenge right away, because some of you don't bring a school bag. That needs to change, absolutely, on a dime. So that needs to be different next week. If you don't have a school bag, we'll help you with that. Okay? But you need to bring a school bag. Obviously, we would be expecting you to bring a full school bag with your iPad, your pouch, your phone in it, off, and a pen or a pencil. That's you ready to learn. Okay? So these are expectations. We've not just done this without consultation. We've spoken to lots of young people along the way. We've spoken to parents. Mr. McDowell and I had year group after year group in here with questions. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? We've asked surveys that have gone out to parents, like 2 times. We've had parent groups, and the pupil parliament group have been involved. So we feel like we've had a lot of consultation, but case you're not familiar with the word consultation, what that means is we want your opinion on something. But the opinion is not, should we do this? Because we were going to do it. We were going to do this. The consultation is, what do you think we need to be thinking about? And I have to say, some of the feedback has been invaluable, really, really helpful in shaping this policy for us. And in that consultation, we asked different things. And one of the things that you responded to was a wellbeing survey. And in that wellbeing survey, there was lots of questions, but actually this was the key stuff that we were pulling out. Now, I saw from the comments, lots of people spotted that. But nonetheless, what you told us supported the research that we were able to go and look up. What you told us about screen time was that the higher your screen time, the more chance of you regarding yourself as having poor sleep, and the link between people who said that poor sleep to having not feeling okay, feeling their well-being wasn't great, feeling they had anxiety was so clear. Now, science tells us that. We know that the brain resting helps reduce anxiety, it helps problem solve, it helps us manage. And science also tells us that screen time, doesn't help us there. But there's something, I think science can sometimes feel like it's out there. Actually, these are emotions. These are people saying, this is how I feel. And it's really, really clear. So how can we help our young people feel better, support their anxiety, support their well-being, help their sleep? We have to reduce their screen time. What will it look like in practice? Okay, so in the morning, you come to school with your bag, and I'll be there with lots of people who normally wear our lovely high-vis jackets that you all love. And we'll be at the front door, we'll be at the back door, and what we're asking you to do is show us that you've got your pouch and phone's in it, and it's in your bag, and it is locked. Okay? That's going to be the expectation. Not as you come in walking down the corridor, not coming out the toilets, because that's the first thing you like to do when you come into school, before you come into school. Because this building is going to be, there will not be phones. Okay? There will not be phones. That's what we're doing. And all that stuff that I've said, that I can see nods to, and I know you get it, this is how we achieve it. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. How do you unlock it? Well, crucially, there's 2 points in the day where you will be able to unlock it. At the end of the day, that's an obvious one, all right? And there's going to be stations down there, and there's going to be stations down there, but there's also going to be us holding these. And you can just come up, and you just do that, and it unlocks, okay? And you've got access to your phone. I'm going to come to the lunch thing shortly, because you will be able to, if you leave the building at lunch, you'll be able to access your phone, okay? It's pretty simple, it's pretty slick. It happens in lots of countries. It happens down south in lots of schools. There might be bumps. We might need to go, all right, we need a few more stations there. Bear with us, we'll sort that out. You'll get better at unlocking them. Who does it apply to? It applies to everyone here, every young person in school. It applies to me. We'll be given a pouch to staff. It applies to visitors. I had a parent in my first meeting this morning was with a parent. We were talking about this, and I said, actually, when you come to school next time, we'll be asking you to put your phone in a pouch. I think that sends a really strong message that this is for everyone who comes into our building. I don't want you to feel that your phone's in a pouch and then there's other folk walking about on their phones. We don't want that. That does not feel fair to me. Okay? It doesn't feel fair to us as a staff. So we're going to support you with that, and we're going to have that expectation. There's an understanding, by the way, that someone who's in to fix something, from one of the companies that work with us, like BT or something like that, they may need to access a phone. But I think that prompt to say, would you, is enough just to let them know the tone of our school. Similarly, staff, for different reasons, may need to access phones. Staff are different from young people in that they are the adults in the building, but also they've got other responsibilities, caring responsibilities. And actual inconvenience to us all of the modern age. When we want to go into our computer, it needs to send us a PIN, that often goes to your phone, because some of the iPads don't facilitate that, and we have to use a phone. Okay, so that you might see that, but you're not going to see staff walking down corridors on phones. You will not see them in classrooms. I'm sure you don't anyway. But that is, it's for everyone that we're doing this. What happens if? That's the second question. So the first question is, why are you doing this? The second question is, what happens if? So here's what that looks like. I'll go through it because I know the text will be difficult for some of you to read at the back there. What happens if, basically, if you go to the toilet, in a nutshell, your teacher will ask you to put your pouch on their desk. Okay? That keeps it there, and your phone's in that. So that's dead simple. You come back to class, it goes back into your bag. If you go out at lunch, you unlock it, but the same expectations there at the end of lunch as it is at the start of the day. When you come into school, it's back in the pouch, okay, and it's locked. But here's the one that you really want to know. What happens if I break the rules? What happens if I walk down the corridor and a teacher sees me on my phone? That can't happen. In a nutshell, that can't happen. That's undermining everything we're trying to achieve, and I'm going to come back to it. We're trying to achieve it for you. Care for you, care for your learning. So that can't happen. What will happen in that instance is that you'll be asked to take your phone to the office, or the transition team and a member from SLT will work with you to get it to the office. When it's in the office, it will stay there for the remainder of the day, locked, safe, and at the end of the day, either myself or one of the year heads will be contacting home and inviting parents to come and collect your phone. Now, we recognise that's an inconvenience, but we think it's important. We also, though, recognise that for some parents that will not be a possibility. And so then we'll work with your families to work out a way that we can resolve the issue. Okay? I don't want to spend too much time on that, because what I want us to agree is actually that is needless. We do not need to do that. We do not need to have that conflict. You will not like it. I think some of you will find it really upsetting. And we don't want to do that. Because actually what we want, I'm going to go back to that positive relationships, we want positive relationships with you. We don't want to be the person that says, actually this now needs to go here. But at Portobello High School now, that is really clear. Phones cannot be seen in this building. Incidentally, they can't be heard in this building either. I'm going to give you a wee example. In the last presentation, what do you think happened? Very good. Somebody's phone started ringing, right? Now that person whose phone started ringing looked at the phone, then immediately turned round to the person who sent them that. Of course, we know that could happen. But what a distraction. 260 people in an assembly, and actually 260 people learning about a new policy that's going to impact them, and that learning is disrupted by silly nonsense behaviour, but ultimately because a phone is on, loud, and not in a pouch. And I think about our teachers who are trying to manage that every single period. This, put your phone away, ring, ring, notification. Absolute nightmare. Okay? So, we can't have that. And again, it was a perfect illustration of just why we're looking to achieve this. Broken pouch. Look, these things are not bomb-proof. You can break them. You could cut one open. I think there's videos that show you how to break them, but I know this for a fact. Every one that gets broken shows that it's been broken. You can't break into it without it looking like it's been broken into. If we have a broken pouch, the expectation is that you'll have to replace that, and you will have to pay the cost of that. If you're not able, or then that's okay, but your pouch every day will go to the office. All right, and that's where it'll be until you have a pouch again. Okay, so please don't try damage it. Please try not to break into it, and just work with us and support us with this. I said I would talk about the People Parliament. Here were the four main concerns that came through the consultation process. I have to say, what a great example of democracy in action. Your Pupil Parliament were fantastic. We were in here, just under 100 young people who have all been an active member of the Pupil Parliament, led by Mr. Murphy, and they were able to articulate concerns, and that was the biggest one, and were able to express just why lunch was so important. I can say to you wholeheartedly that was not part of our plan. we were not going to be doing lunch times. It was going to be from the moment you got into school to the end of the day, no access to phones. But you were represented, and there'll be some people here who was doing the representing so well by your pupil parliament, and they were able to articulate and communicate their thoughts on that matter. And we went back as a team and a staff and talked about it, and we listened, and we are recognising that you have that responsibility at lunchtime. Okay? The main argument around that, the one that really sold us, because Apple Pay wasn't the one, because Apple Pay you can use a card. The one was about safety, and we just thought actually that's fair. You know, there's a busy road there. People go a distance. Some people are young carers. They go home. They need to check in with parents. Some people go home to walk a dog. You're going off site. We want you to be safe. And so the phone is absolutely something that if you're leaving the building. But if you're in the cafe there, if you're around the building, we don't expect to see your phone. Okay? The cost, in the consultation process, we asked families if they'd be willing to support the school with a kind of contribution of £10 towards a pouch. I think the reason we thought that is there is a huge cost to this for a school, buying so many. And we recognise that the phones that you have range from hundreds to up to 1,000 plus. And our thinking on that was, well, the schools haven't bought the phones, we're trying to help you manage the phones, and if you're spending that, are you able to spend an extra £10 to help us manage this for you? But the thing is, if you're not, for whatever reason, that is not a barrier. We are giving you the phone today. There is a £10 on parent pay. If parents are able, willing to pay for that, we really appreciate it. If not, you'll not be chased around this. This is the last. Really, we're going to say on that. Okay? So, I just had to address that because that came through the consultation process. The S6 was an area, our S6 felt really strongly that they should be able to use their phone. And so we, in the S6 area, that's going to be possible, all right? They'll be able to unlock their phone and be able to use it in that area, but not outside that area. The reason for that is they're the only year group in the school that have got free periods, and also some of them are working. Their employer might phone them and say, can you work today? Last minute stuff, they're doing driver's license. There's a complexity to an S6 life that actually you'll reach, but you're not there yet. Okay, and the last one is ASN. Anyone with additional support needs, part of your plan will be looking at that as to whether there's a better way to support you with this. I'm going to give you a couple of examples just very quickly. People who have got diabetes will monitor their blood sugars through a phone. Absolutely need access to that all the time. And there are other examples of that. But it could also be you. If you're struggling, for example, with anxiety or panic attack, or whatever that thing might be, you usually contact someone at home. Then up in the support for learning area, there's going to be 2 areas for you to be able to go in. It'll be supervised. You'll be able to unlock your phone. You'll be given a private space, so you can have a private conversation, and you'll be able to call home. Okay? What we don't want is folk having to feel they've got to go and sit in a toilet cubicle to phone home. All right? We want it to be, actually that doesn't help you because we don't know about that. If you're upset, distressed, we need to know to support you. And so actually come to that area and we'll make sure that you get that contact home. The last thing I'm really going to say is on support. We recognise that for some of you this will be okay, but some of you this is going to be a huge shift. And we also recognise that that might be really tough. So we've been working with our school counsellors and they've freed up some time. So if you are finding this really hard, if you're getting anxiety about not having access to your phone, if you're feeling so frustrated that you're not even focusing on things, then I want you to contact either myself or a pupil support leader, and we'll make sure that you get some additional support around that. I have to say, guys, you've been absolutely perfect in the way that you've sat here, listened. I very much appreciate it, and I hope we can work together to improve this for you.